Hey, welcome back to Everyday Self-Awareness. Today, we are going to talk about self-protection. I know what you're saying. We talk about self-protection all the time. We are going to talk about self-protection while driving. This is really important. We're going to get into things that you need to be aware of, things that you should be looking for, and the mindset that you need to have a good self-protection skill set while driving. Let's get into it. First and foremost, the biggest thing about defensive driving, in my opinion, and it's saved me more than once, and I've seen it save other people too, it's distancing. And it really goes back to empty hand skills when we talk about how to defend yourself with empty hand skills. If you have a space where you can stay ahead of time and not behind time, meaning be able to react to action, you're going to be in good shape. And it's the same thing with when you're driving a vehicle, especially a vehicle. I see it day in and day out as I'm driving. People riding on top of bumpers of the person in front of them. They'll be riding on that back bumper. Like it's really going to make a difference where they're going, that they're right on top of that bumper. Folks, keeping space between you and that vehicle in front of you. I mean, good space, so your reaction can match the action that might happen. That car slamming on its brakes because maybe it's just because a deer ran across. Whatever it is. But if you don't have that distance to be able to react in time, it could put you in a world of hurt along with the person in front of you and possibly the person behind you. So the biggest thing, in my opinion, as far as self-defense driving is space. It's distance. So the next thing is always looking ahead. Yes, obviously we want to keep an eye right on what's happening in front of the vehicle. But I want to be looking ahead, 2-3 cars down, making sure that I'm keeping an eye out there. I'm using my peripheral vision to have a good view of what's going on 200-300 yards up ahead of me and further, at the same time keeping an eye on the sides of the roads right in front of me. Obviously, while maintaining, looking in the rear mirror when I need to and stuff like that. But when we do this, it allows us timing, which we just talked about a minute ago as far as keeping distance between me and cars. When we have timing, generally we can get out of most bad situations. Now, that timing comes into play when there's a light coming up, a red light coming up. It could be a stop sign. It could be a person crossing the road. If we weren't paying attention or looking far enough ahead that we didn't see it in time, didn't have enough time to put on the brakes. These are all things that we need to be constantly scanning for. And this is why it's so important to make sure we're not on our phones or distracted by the person next to us. I had a lady run, I was at a stop sign, and she pulled the corner too tight as she pulled into our road, and she ran straight into me. I was at a stop sign, and she was talking to her daughter. And she cut the corner too tight and got distracted, ran straight into me. It blew my mind, but I digress. This kind of stuff happens all the time when we don't keep our eyes on the road and looking ahead. So that would be the next thing, always looking ahead. The final thing I'm going to talk about today is parking lots or busy neighborhoods. They're kind of the same thing. And what I mean by a busy neighborhood, I'm talking about a street that might be really narrow and you've got cars parked on both sides and there's people and kids and animals, dogs running around. Same thing with a parking lot. When we pull in to either a parking lot or a busy neighborhood, our senses, our alert level has to go up. We've got to be scanning both sides of the vehicle, what's going on in front of us, and just think to ourselves at any time. I'm not talking about being paranoid here. Nobody should be paranoid when they're driving. They need to be relaxed. But you need to be on an alert and think to yourself at any time a kid could come running out behind 2 vehicles that you don't see. I'm always thinking some kid could run right out there, and I've got to be ready for that. And my distancing, my speed, all this stuff needs to reflect that, okay? So that's whether it's in a parking lot, a busy neighborhood, but constantly looking for those things. Also, when we get out, when we finally get parked, whether it's in the neighborhood or that parking lot, when we get parked, just don't open the door. Don't assume that people are going to see you, okay? Make sure you check both ways before you open the door. And once you do get out of that vehicle and you get the car locked up and you're ready to go, when you're walking behind vehicles, don't assume that there isn't anybody in that vehicle that's ready to back up and they're going to look. I've so many close calls. I've seen people almost get hit. People didn't see him. They weren't paying attention. They put it in reverse, and I'll see the vehicle start moving before they even look. I think we've all seen that. I guess the biggest thing here, folks, is I don't want you going around being paranoid, but we have got to have a higher level of alertness, and we've got to be able to do what I call the mental reps. Think about things that could happen when we see different scenarios. Again, busy road with a lot of cars. Expect that a dog, a cat, a child could, God forbid, come running out at any time. When we get into a parking lot, expect when we're walking in between cars or behind cars that it could back up all of a sudden. Looking down the road, expect that 2 or 3 cars down, you see 2 cars that are traveling too close together. All of a sudden, maybe that car is going to have to slam on its brakes, and that's going to cause a domino effect. So these are all things that we need to take into consideration, examples. Hey, look, at the end of the day, we need to be responsible for the vehicle that we're driving, and the way we drive that vehicle, and the way we approach and handle ourselves in traffic and in parking lots, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, I'll never forget, my dad would say this to me when I was younger, when I was first starting to drive. He'd say, Christian, driving the right, it's not a right to drive. You don't have a right to drive a vehicle. A lot of people will approach that they have a right to drive their vehicle and go anywhere they want and do whatever they want with their vehicle. Folks, it's a privilege to be able to drive a vehicle. And we need to remember that along with that privilege comes a lot of responsibility. And if we all just do our part in being a better, safe, defensive driver, it'd just be safer roads out there. So as always, I appreciate you stopping in, listening to the video. I want you to stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care.